Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, episode 25.
Bitcoins are now trading at $622 per Bitcoin. That's 62 cents per millibit. But more exciting and probably more relevant to this particular show, we can include the price that LTBCoin is trading at. We have a link now added to our bitcoinsandgravy.com website. It's the widget from melodic.com, MELOTIC.com. Melodic has included LTBCoin on their trading exchange. Well, LTBCoin started out being worth 0, but it's already moving up the ranks to 0.0025 cents. So that's a quarter of a cent now for LTBCoin.
Now that's gravy. Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, and thanks for joining us today as we podcast from East Nashville, Tennessee. I'm John Barrett.
And I'm Lid Shaw.
We're two Bitcoin enthusiasts who love to talk about Bitcoins.
And share what we learn with you, the listener. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for listening to Bitcoins and Gravy.
On today's show, Lidge and I travel to beautiful Napa, California, where we meet with Adam B. Levine. I know you've all heard that name. Adam B. Levine is a writer, editor, and speaker who likes to talk about complicated topics in understandable terms.
Adam is the founder and creator of the Let's Talk Bitcoin network, as well as the new LTBCoin. Our talk with Adam was going so well that we decided to dedicate the whole show to it. So without further delay, please welcome the visionary Adam B. Levine on Bitcoins and Gravy. So this is a really, truly blockchain verified, exciting moment for us here at Bitcoins and Gravy. We finally have on with us the founder of the Let's Talk Bitcoin network, Mr. Adam B. Levine himself. Adam.
Mr.
Yeah, welcome
you guys,
show.
I really appreciate the flattery, but I have to say I'm very pleased to be on the show too. It's really great that I'm finally getting an opportunity to chat with y'all.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give a warm Nashville welcome for the one, the only, Adam B. Levine.
That's going to be much bigger when we add the applause.
Yeah, we're going to add a massive audience applause there. You're going to love it, dude.
Oh, no, I can hear it.
Well, so Adam, welcome. Where are you physically right now? Are you like on the dark side of the moon or something like that? Where are you? Where do you live?
No. Although we might as well be from Nashville, man. We're out in California, up in Northern California, about an hour and a half north of San Francisco.
So you're in Napa, right?
Yep, up in Napa, out on the LTB homestead.
Man, beautiful area up there. I've got a cousin that lives up there. I love that area. I haven't been up there in years touring the wineries.
And it's not even that hot this summer. Like, California, we have this awesome weather where, like, if it's cold, it's like 40 degrees, and if it's hot, it's like 100 degrees. That's like the extent that we get out here. And this summer has been great because it hasn't been hot at all, and it's usually really hot.
Nice, man. Wow. We're having a similar summer here. We have hot days, but we also have some beautiful weather so far all through the summer.
Usually I'm, inside doing a podcast during the beautiful weather, and we go outside just for the hot spells.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Well, Adam, we want to, begin by extending a huge amount of gratitude to you and everyone else there at the Let's Talk Bitcoin network for including us. It's been one hell of a run for the past 7 months since we joined you guys, and we're loving it.
Yeah. We submitted our little first podcast, and we won the editor's choice. And at the time, you were the editor, and you're still the editor.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled about that. We're happy to be on your network, man. It's great stuff.
Well, I'm glad nobody's yet replaced me as the editor. And it's been, like I said, it's really great to have you guys on the network. I think the show that you're doing is really important because it provides a more accessible way in for people who don't want exactly the type of show that we're doing. That's what's been so great about building out this network, is that it lets us provide a voice and an audience to more people who have more perspectives. Because again, that's how you really understand these complicated technical issues, is by looking at them through a whole bunch of different eyes.
Well, thank you. That's definitely our goal, is to try and make Bitcoin accessible to people. I mean, we're trying to make Bitcoin accessible to ourselves. And as you pointed out, 7 months seems like a long time, and it's a huge amount of time in the Bitcoin world. I mean, Bitcoin's come and gone like 5 or 6 times since we started the show.
It has, man.
I know, right?
And I feel like finally, I'm no longer dragging Lidge along. He's actually up to speed with me now. I'm just kidding you, Lidge.
Well, Bitcoin is wonderful and all that, but there is something else that is very exciting that is right upon us now on the horizon. It's finally here, and we'd like to hear more about it. Adam, can you tell us about LTBCoin?
Yeah, man. LTBCoin. LTBC, what are we calling it?
Yeah, the full name is LTBCoin, and I think that we're going to wind up contracting it to LTBC. And
Cool.
The network will probably be LTBN with the lowercase n's and lowercase c. This is actually a totally new concept when it comes to ways to look at crypto tokens, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that I kind of look at it is that to this point, we've had crypto money, basically. And crypto money is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, anything where the purpose of it is transactions, right? The purpose of it is to have a network where you can send value from someone to someone else. But the value, where it comes into the system, it's consistent in all of these things. The people who are rewarded with these new tokens, whether it be Doge or Bitcoin, are the people who are mining the blocks and thus processing the transactions. You know, I started thinking about this and talking about this at the Vegas conference in December of last year. So this was actually right as you guys were submitting your pilot. And we started talking about the idea of doing LTBCoin in this way, because what happens is that if you don't have to build your own coin, if you can use a protocol like Mastercoin, or as we've done, Counterparty, and build it on top of an already existing blockchain like Bitcoin, then you basically don't have to pay miners because they're already being paid. You can think about the Bitcoin network in the context of LTBCoin or anything else that's built on top of it. Like a Bitcoin transaction that you send is an envelope. And inside the envelope, you put whatever it is, you know, the change order, whatever it is that you want. So in the case of Counterparty, you can do things like place a market order where you want to buy some asset for XCP, which is Counterparty's token, or Bitcoin, or LTBCoin even. And that costs one transaction fee, because what it's essentially doing is it lodges it into the Bitcoin blockchain. And then wallets like Counter Wallet that essentially are looking for those extra types of tokens, analyze the blockchain, and they say, oh, okay, so this block, that thing happened, and that thing happened, and that thing happened. So it's actually a lot like exactly how Bitcoin works. It's just another layer of information that's built into it.
Right, okay.
So the reason why that's important is because since we don't have to pay miners, we can basically do something else entirely with all of the tokens. And so that was the real revelation that I came to, is that to this point, we've not paid people to create content for us. It has been volunteer work, as you guys well know.
I thought you were sending us well wishes.
Yes, exactly. We send you well wishes, and we try to help you succeed in the ways that we can. But, you know, as you've seen, my time is pretty scarce, so it's really more about it being a platform. So what we wanted to do, the thing that we couldn't do, is we couldn't pay people with money that we didn't have. And we didn't have a good way to get that money because we didn't have any money in order to start getting the money. And so what this allowed us to do is it allowed us to take all of that work that we had done over the last year. I mean, that's what it wound up being by the time we actually launched this thing. Over the last year, I like to think of it like a, in Star Wars, you know, they have the, on Tatooine, they have the vapor condensers, right?
Yeah.
They're those big domes that pull moisture out of the atmosphere and condense it into useful water.
It's a vaporator, I believe.
Right. So something like that doesn't create water, just as something like LTBCoin doesn't create value. What it does is it takes the intangible form of it and it turns it into something that is more condensed and thus can actually be useful. So just like water vapor isn't useful when it's vapor, when you want to drink something, after it's been condensed, it's actually quite useful. Even though the thing it wasn't created, it was just kind of modified. So that's really what I see LTBCoin doing here. And so what we've done with this is that if you're a member of the audience, or if you, like you guys, create content for us, we every week create these new LTB coins on a set schedule that declines over time, just like Bitcoin does, except our rate is over 5 years instead of over 150 years. So our period is much faster.
Now, wait a minute. Does that make us the Ewoks in this equation if we're creating content?
I don't think it makes
I got
you
the
the
wrong
Ewoks.
planet there?
No, Lidge, it makes you the Ewok. I am still Luke Skywalker.
Regardless of how you participate in the system, that's kind of been the goal for us, is to take all of these different people who are adding value, whether it be someone who's just visiting the website and consuming content, or somebody who is actually creating content that other people then consume. We actually just brought on a second developer after yesterday, less than 14 hours ago, making a post on our forums and on our, Let's Talk Bitcoin Reddit that we were offering between 200 and 500,000 LTB coin for a month worth of development time, either part-time or full-time, in order to essentially double the amount of work that we're doing on the platform, because right now we have one primary developer who basically has become overwhelmed since we have so much stuff to do. And anyways, that filled. We had 3 applicants, all of whom were qualified in less than 12 hours, and we already finalized with somebody.
Man, that's great.
So, I mean, like, it's fantastic. But the point is that it's a good deal for him because he's going to make this thing more valuable. You know, by further accelerating our progress, it makes it so that he is able to acquire a decent amount of stake in our project, and then we don't have to pay him up front with anything that's actually valuable. He will help us and is incentivized to help us make it valuable. So, I mean, like, this has been a fantastic experience for us so far.
Yeah. So it's
Nice.
like becoming a part owner as you join the network and as you receive the LTB coins. I've heard you describe it as not quite being a stock in the past, but in a way it is like owning some stock or having some stock in the company that you're joining.
I use the word stake because there is a limited supply of this thing, and you can acquire some of it. And then if more people want to acquire it later, that means same supply, more demand. So therefore, you might want to have stake. The thing that actually gives value to the token, that gives value to LTB coin, is that it's the only thing that we accept for sponsorships on the Let's Talk Bitcoin show. And actually, I want to talk to you guys about that because I have not asked you to do that either. I have not asked you to accept LTB coin for your sponsorships. I'm trying to prove the market so that you can see that it's in your best interest to do so. But ultimately, that's where we're going, you know, is that that'll be a good source of essentially LTB coin income for you to offer sponsorships on your show. Again, it's one of those things where because you have LTB coin already from the work that you've already done, you actually have a really good incentive to make it further valuable by, say, adding more things people can do with it, like sponsor your show.
Sure, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So we've done 3 of these now, these auctions. I think we have the 3rd one's going on right now. And they've ranged from like 10,000 LTB coin per spot. We do 2 45-second spots that have no editorial control for the person who's bidding. It's just literally me talking about, you know, whatever the thing is for like 45 seconds so that people can actually be aware of the project as opposed to not knowing about it as with most of them. So that's actually, it's been really, really popular. And I think that right now the bids are up at, we have Coin Market Cap with like 12,000 LTB coin bid, and I think Broker with 17,000 LTB coin bid, and this expires tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Let me jump in for just a second. Can you explain to a listener what that means? What is an auction for sponsorship and for using Bitcoin? How does that work?
Yeah, so right now it's all on the forums. Where we're going, what we're going to have in the next couple of weeks, I'm really excited about, are these automated, essentially auction vending machines, where instead of having to go to a forum and post, you know, and then keep track of this forum post and all this stuff, you'll actually go to a specific web page for the specific show and that type of sponsorship, and then you'll be able to send in your bid in LTB coin, and whenever you're not the high bidder, it will actually send you back your bid immediately with a little bit of profit associated with it. So it will actually become a profitable thing to be outbid in one of these auctions. But right now what it looks like is simply people going to the forums. Up at the top of the letstalkbitcoin.com page, you'll see a LTB coin rewards program menu.
Okay.
You can mouse over that, and one of the options is sponsor. You click that, it'll take you right to the thread, and you'll be able to see what the most, you know, up-to-date prices are and what the current bid is. Like I said, it's really a manual process right now, but that's how we're getting started.
Okay, great.
The other way that people can do it is actually one of the writers who we've worked with for the last year, Brian Cohen, is offering an LTB coin advertising brokerage service, basically, where he earned LTB coin over the last year. He wrote like 14 articles for us, and I think he received somewhere in the range of about 500,000 LTB coin for him. And so he's essentially like, that's how coinmarketcap.com has bid. They contacted him and said, please bid for us. We will pay you Bitcoin for whatever you wind up paying in LTB coin in order to secure this spot.
Oh, I was going to say that's very interesting. You bring Bitcoin into the equation right there. That's an example where LTB coin is becoming valued against something outside of LTB coin or outside of the network in Bitcoin, for example.
Like I told you really early on, right after we did that first distribution, almost as soon as we had sent out LTB coin to people who had done essentially content creation for us over the year before we started the project, a friend of mine, Wendell from Hive Wallet, contacted me and was interested in buying 1 Bitcoin worth of LTB coin. And I have no idea what 1 Bitcoin worth of LTB coin is or was. At the time, he got, I think it was 65,000 LTB coin for 1 Bitcoin, but he didn't do that from me. We're not actually selling it. You can't buy it from us. The only thing you can do is earn it through one of these ways, and that's actually how I've acquired it personally myself. Last year, I personally created about 40% of the content that we ran. So I wound up with a big chunk at the beginning, but I've committed not to use that or do anything with it really until the market is much more deep.
Right. I think a lot of our listeners are probably going to be wondering, and I'm wondering it myself. So at what point can we point to a value for the LTB coin and say, not only does this equate to value in USD or in Bitcoin, but also, hey, I can get some LTB coin by going to this exchange because people are selling them there now, and it's been taken outside of the LTB world.
Yeah, the planet, Tatooine.
Oh, no.
Well, you can do that now, actually. Within about 3 days, we were listed on the Melodic exchange, melotic.com. I did have a good conversation with their president for about an hour about user-created assets and stuff like that. He also came pretty highly recommended. So if you are looking for a place to trade, that's probably a better place than, say, the forums or the decentralized exchange, which right now is fairly expensive and hard to use. Right now, the value is around, I think, 200 Satoshis each. That's about the last price that I saw. But the market, again, is still very thin. And again, the thing to remember is that if you want to acquire LTB coin, it's a very deflationary asset. On Friday, we'll be doing our second weekly distribution out of a total of more than 5 years of distribution. So now is the best possible time to get involved with LTB coin because, again, if you register an account, and then you either visit our webpage, read articles, listen to shows on the webpage. Right now, we're only tracking on the webpage. We will be tracking and rewarding people who just listen to the shows. That'll be coming soon, but it's a little bit more complicated. So yeah, that's basically it. Is last week we gave away 1.7 million LTB coin to about 413 registered users on the forums, with that amount being split up based on how much they contributed in terms of these things, in terms of commenting on articles, posting in the forums, reading new stuff.
Wow, that's
great.
Great.
Amazing. So basically, LTB coin is already finding some value within its closed system network, and it's beginning to find some value outside of that network.
The thing that I really want to emphasize with this is that this is such a starting point for us. And it's not just a starting point for us, but this is the starting point for a whole new type of crypto token and a whole new type of way to do this. Mm-hmm. Essentially, what we have here is the first real crypto rewards program, where it's just not about mining at all. There have been attempts at this before, but they always incorporate mining. If you get rid of mining, it's very, very clearly just a rewards program like airline miles or anything else. The only difference is they're more useful because you can actually do whatever you want with them instead of just being able to, redeem them to get yourself a ticket.
Right. And I know somebody's going to ask, or somebody's thinking, what about intrinsic value? There's always these discussions about, does anything really have intrinsic value? How do you answer that when it comes to LTBC, when it comes to LTB coin? Intrinsic value, yes or no?
I don't necessarily believe in intrinsic value. I think that value is subjective, and I think that value is something that emerges over time as markets become more informed and participants, essentially as information becomes more evenly distributed, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing, like the worst time to buy a token is when everybody else has already known about it for a long time and you're just finding out about it.
Right.
So that's going to happen over and over and over again. So yeah, buying LTB coin is not the way to go about it. If you're a sponsor that wants to use it right now and your money is essentially worth more than your time, other than that, just participate, join our community. Again, like we've got listener forums set up and it's been really cool so far.
Okay, let's assume for a moment that the value of a currency or the value of LTB coin is kind of a final destination of importance. Can you take our listeners through the life of an LTB coin, sort of from birth to value? Just step by step along the way. Just imagine you're reading a children's book to us.
It's easier to get people to give you money if you first give it to them for stuff they were always doing for free. For example, it doesn't really matter to you how much we pay you in terms of LTB coin for what you are doing, because before this, it was free. So what matters to you is how much you get relative to everybody else based on their contribution, right? You would be upset if you were doing a show that was previously free and we moved into this system, but say paid a member of the audience just for commenting the same as we paid you in the LTB coin, or I'm saying paid, but award is their word for it. The same as we, gave to somebody who just made a comment for you actually creating a full episode and producing and all that stuff. Those things are not of equal value. So the number in terms of dollars sort of doesn't matter. The thing that matters is what are you getting compared to everybody else who's also getting some of that compared to the contributions that you're all making.
Right. So the value is in the sweat labor that goes into creating content.
It is. And it's a lot easier to make a comment on a blog than it is to make a show. And so again, the way that we've balanced this thing essentially reflects value. Now, that being said, if we hit a situation where we have just as many people creating content as we do people consuming each piece of content, then maybe that won't always be true. There are scenarios where you have so much content being created compared to the number of people participating at the audience level that maybe that's, but that's the thing, is that if we have that problem, well, then we have an insane amount of content coming in. So really, we should just keep out the content, right?
Right. Okay.
Let's say we have a writer who is submitting to the LTB network writings every week or every day, and people really love it, and it's really good stuff. And then the writer's being awarded LTB coin, and they get up to, let's say they have 20 million LTB coin. Then the writer finds out that from their doctor that they're going to die in a week. So they're thinking, I've got to take care of my family. How can I cash out this LTB coin? What do you say to them?
Well, I mean, the point is that they can do whatever they want with it. So if you've banked 20 million LTB coin, I don't know how deep the market's going to be. The thing that gives the token value is the sponsorships, and those don't have solid prices. Those are, again, all based on relative demand. It's looked like in the past, because people didn't bid until the very last minute, that some of these sponsorships were going to go for like 2,000 LTB coin, which is really, 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 really inexpensive if you actually convert it into anything. But then people rush in at the last minute and it goes up to 10,000 LTB coin, and now we're at 17,000 LTB coin. So really what's happening is that as we're doing this, more people are finding out about it. The audience, both in terms of the token and in terms of our audience, is growing as a result of this. And that's kind of what we think, is that the value is going to spiral up. As more and more people, as we give out more LTB coin, the amounts that are coming in the auction should actually go up quite a bit. So we're trying to create competition in a situation where before there was no competition. It was me or somebody else calling somebody up and saying, hey, would you like to give us some Bitcoin to sponsor the show for this time? And they say, well, what's the return? And we say, well, we don't really know what the return is because it's an audio show and it's hard to quantify those things. So what we've created here is a situation where we give people the money first, and then we let them compete in order to give us the most of the money that we gave to them.
Nice. So yeah, they're competing in a certain way, and yet they're also just really adding rich content that everybody can share.
At the beginning, we didn't have that much demand, but now the demand is going up, and so the prices are going up. So at the point where, we're making, 50,000 LTB coin per spot or 100,000 LTB coin per spot or whatever the numbers wind up being, then maybe you're going to look at that and say, oh, well, I guess if we did that too, we could probably also get something like that as well, and that would be worth it to us. Whereas at 10,000 LTB coin, it might not be.
Right.
Right. Okay. So you got people, they're creating content. There's a value in LTB coin for creating that content. Can you explain, where does that LTB coin come from? When and how is it born, and where does it go from there? How does it arrive at the content creator?
LTB coins technically are created as a token on the Counterparty platform, which means that it costs 0.5 XCP, which is Counterparty's internal token, basically, in order to do a new issuance. So every time we increase the amount of LTB coin, which is to say every Friday when we do these weekly distributions, we pay 0.5 XCP, and in about 2 block confirmations, however many we have created shows up.
That creates how many LTB right now?
Well, it depends. If listeners would like to learn more about the specifics and numbers and things like that, I really recommend LTBcoin.com. Okay. It'll take you right to the explainer page and do all that jazz, and it has the numbers and the charts and things. The number changes every week. Every week for the first year, there is 1% deflation per week, which means the amount that we gave out this week will be 99% of the amount that we gave out last week. And next week, it will be 99% of the amount that we give out this week. So it's actually very deflationary to start. Year 2, it's 2% deflation. Year 3, it's 3% deflation, and so on until year 5, and it basically ends. There will be 510 million at that point.
I'm John Barrett.
And I'm Lid Shaw.
We're two guys from East Nashville, Tennessee who love talking about Bitcoin. Join us for Bitcoins and Gravy right here as we talk with business owners around the country and around the world who are using Bitcoins right now to grow their businesses.
We interview Bitcoin experts about cutting-edge developments, the future of Bitcoin the currency, and Bitcoin the shared network. We also talk with everyday folks who use Bitcoins instead of money for everyday purchases.
And if you're still not sure about Bitcoins, we can help. Bitcoins and Gravy will get you up to speed with this new fast-paced technology, Bitcoin. We invite you, the listener, to call us on the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline at 615-208-5198 with your questions or comments about Bitcoin.
And remember to tune in right here for Bitcoins and Gravy.
Now that's gravy.
So, John, it's time once again for our Aw Heck segment. Hotline emails and comments, kids. This one sounds like it might be pretty interesting. This is from Mike Asen, And the subject is, I love your show, but...
I love your show, but you make me nervous. You are just too darn smooth. Help calm my paranoid, conspiracy-ridden brain. You guys pull your show off nearly flawlessly, time after time. Having a background in media production, I know that kind of production quality doesn't just happen. Audio levels, timing, flow, planning. You have the whole deal. Please explain how you aren't backed by, in quotes, big boys in order to pull your show off. I keep trying to get this ridiculous idea out of my brain, but it keeps coming back. And then he says,
from a regular but confused listener.
Mike from Minneapolis. Oh, boy.
Oh, wow, man. What can you say about that, John? Is that the biggest compliment or the biggest?
I think it's a great compliment, but I think he needs to stop drinking so much coffee.
Well, you know, I mean, it gets cold up there in Minneapolis, Mike. We understand that. And sometimes, you know, you just get a little cabin fever and you start thinking that there's some dangerous things going on out there in the world.
And that's just in the middle of the summer.
And that's just in the middle of the summer, right? You know, I mean, you're waiting up in that cabin for the moose to come by, and it just, you got to be patient. But seriously, though, thank you so much for that compliment.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for John, you know, I would pretty much just be a bumbling idiot, you know. So I don't know what else to tell you about it.
Well, you know, listen, seriously, though, a lot of what's going on here is that we're recording out of the Toy Box studio here in East Nashville, Tennessee. So this is a professional recording studio that Lidge owns, and so he has the background in audio. I have a very minor background in audio tech, and I guess what else I add to the show is I have a fabulous voice.
That's right. You raised the bar way up high. So, yeah, you know, we put a lot of effort and time into it. We're also lucky to have some really well-spoken guests on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate the comment.
Yeah,
Keep them coming, everybody.
Yeah, and, you know, if you have a paranoid, conspiracy-ridden brain, Mike, there is a cure for that. I don't know the cure for that. I'm guessing there's a cure.
I think it's called Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, it's called Bitcoin. But, yeah, we are definitely not backed by the big boys. We're not backed by anybody.
You know, we spend too much time in the studio eating Mexican for lunch. We might just become the big boys ourselves, John.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Hey, y'all, this is Danger Dead Meadows again. Let's see, I woke up in the middle of the night again. Instead of calling the normal hotlines or calling in the middle of the night, I decided to give y'all a call and sing this little song, a little ditty I came up with. Let's see if I can set that phone down and play a little bit. Yeah. May the blockchain be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a Merkle tree there waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Well, I paid my sales tax at the drugstore for a 16-ounce soda can. All my money went to funding the war in Afghanistan. So I took my fat stacks of cash out from under my mattress pad. Bought Satoshis. Now the Congress can't use my money for stuff that bad. Well, may the blockchain be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Well, there's a Merkle tree there waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Well, they got Litecoin, they got Dogecoin, Darkcoin, Hobo Nickel, and BitShares. An ecosystem that's so crypto, built on prime number key pairs. May the blockchain be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Well, there's a Merkle tree there waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Thanks, East Nashville.
Bitcoins and Gravy is part of the LTB network, and they have just introduced a new listener rewards program called Magic Words. At some point, we'll tell you, the listener, the magic word for each episode. Then you will visit letstalkbitcoin.com, log into your free account, and on your dashboard, you'll see where to type the magic words. So it doesn't matter how you listen, on SoundCloud, on your phone, on an airplane, or even out fishing in your boat. Just remember the magic words and make sure to turn them in at letstalkbitcoin.com for your listening credit, which is worth about as much as reading 5 articles on the site. Each word is only good for 4 days, so don't get too far behind. And if you haven't already hooked up your account to receive your LTBCoin rewards, visit counterwallet.co to make your own wallet. Take one of the addresses it gives you and enter it on your letstalkbitcoin.com profile, where it asks for an LTB coin compatible address. Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell anybody else the magic word who didn't listen, because the more people who claim their listener credit, the less LTB coin each will receive. So tell people about the show, but keep the magic words for first-hand listeners only. So that's how it works. Keep listening, and at the end of this episode, we'll let you know what the magic word for today is. In the world of Bitcoin, we're used to the concept of a deflationary currency or a cryptocurrency, wherein it's built into that original code in a way that can't be changed.
Yes.
How similar is that for LTB coin?
This is one of the big differences, something like a user-created asset versus not. With a standard type of cryptocurrency, you do have this built in at a protocol level. With a user-created asset like LTBCoin, you do not. You have to trust me. Now, we're working on situations to make it so you don't have to trust me. But right now, the tools are very new, and turns out we've actually wound up building several of them ourselves simply because they didn't exist. What that means is that we have set out a long-term schedule that says, without any question, what the amounts are that will be created and what their broad categorical purposes are. So again, something like 30% goes to the first run of content creation, 30% goes to the second run of content creation, and the second run of content creation is like how well it performed over the first month that it was on. So you actually get paid twice for the same piece of content based on first just doing it and it being good enough to get on our front page. That's half. And then the other half is weighted based on how well you perform compared to everything else during that same time period.
I see.
Right.
And then another portion, I think it's 25%, goes to the audience. And again, that's through those various ways that I described to you. It's 10% that goes to the platform. I think my numbers are wrong here. It might be more going to content creators. I'm pretty sure it's 25% going to.
Well, let me interject, Adam. This is not a political convention, so you're not on the spot. We're not holding your feet to the fire on the specific numbers. And I think our listeners understand that you're trying to get the concept across and that the specifics are going to be,
Sure.
You can find them on the LTB forum.
I was just going to say that it sounds to me like the people who create the better content are going to do better in terms of the LTB coin. It makes me wonder if we're, do you feel like we're in the running? I mean, I feel like we could do pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like to think we could.
Anybody who's involved at this point, it's a totally open game. We do not know that Let's Talk Bitcoin is going to be the most popular as far as this stuff is concerned. And probably, honestly, a lot of the most popular things are going to wind up being articles because written articles have such an easier time spreading in that viral way. Whereas audio, you have to make people listen to something and they have to get to the right place. And the barrier is much, much lower. So that's the goal. The goal here is to make it so that anybody who adds value to what we're doing is rewarded for that fact. And the people who are the best at it and the people who are really excelling and helping us to succeed, well, that they get even more than that. We really, really want people to help us succeed.
Right. It's a strong incentive for being excellent, right?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Be excellent to each other is a very, very strong phrase.
Yes,
nice.
I like it. That sounds like a Jedi Knight kind of phrase. Right
I think
there.
that was from.
It's actually I think it's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah. That was what they were. That was the message that they were given to bring back.
Oh, that's right.
To bring back to the past. Is that right?
Well, but let me tell you how this works on the inside. So that's the external part of it, which is to say, like, we're counterparty and the technical stuff. On the internal side, essentially all you do is create an account with us and then put in your wallet address where you want to receive these LTB coin, and then you just do stuff. And whether it's creating a piece of content or whatever, it's all tracked by the system. And at the end of it, I'm, as the editor-in-chief right now is responsible for getting this report generated by our system that then gives me a single Bitcoin address to send to. And I send all the LTB coin that are going to be distributed through that method to that address. And I send all of the Bitcoin fee to pay the miners for those. And then the system itself does hundreds of sends automatically at below market rates. So it's a very cool system that we're going to be open sourcing soon.
Very cool, very cool. And then how does somebody go and get a wallet? You started with get a wallet, but how do they do that?
Right. And to follow Lidge's question, if you could at the same time explain to us what is Counterparty, because a lot of people don't really even know what Counterparty is. I know you mentioned it briefly, but if you could just give us the lowdown and how that relates to the wallet that we're going to set up.
Sure. Counterparty is, like I said, it's one of two meta coins that are built on top of Bitcoin that allow you to create things like LTBCoin without having to do things like run code and have servers and have miners and all of these other things that are required to have a real full altcoin. Now, from the user standpoint, it doesn't change at all. An LTB coin in your wallet is exactly the same. It's a piece of data that the software is recognizing. So again, like when you use an LTB coin, it's the same type of experience, except you don't have to have a different wallet from your Bitcoin wallet. Your Bitcoin wallet now actually will hold LTB coin and any other asset created on top of Counterparty as well. So you very simply go to counterwallet.co. And right there, you're faced with a fairly simple page that explains the value proposition of it. And it asks you to create a password. You click the create a password button, and it pops up, like a 12 random word phrase. That is both your password and your private key. So you really need to keep track of that, write it down, and not lose it, not share it with anybody else. Counterparty and Counterwallet does not store any of your information whatsoever. It's just basically like you can think of it like a kind of dumb computer terminal. It doesn't necessarily have intelligence of its own, but it lets you tap into, in this case, the blockchain.
Okay, so Adam, when we lose our password, we don't just send you a personal email. Adam, I lost my password. What do I do?
No, it's very important to not lose your password. I've had trouble with this, so I really recommend something like KeepPass or Password Safe when it comes to this stuff. Just in general, make sure you keep your password.
Yeah, well stated, sir.
Okay, groovy. So you've created a Counterparty wallet, and you're saying that it's essentially a Bitcoin wallet. So one wallet address can hold some Bitcoin and some Counterparty asset and some LTB coin all in the same wallet, and the wallet knows?
Yeah.
It's the same blockchain.
Right, exactly. It's the same blockchain. And actually, it's interesting because like I said, it's very, very quick for us to be integrated into that first centralized trading exchange, Melodic, because they had already integrated XCP. XCP is Counterparty's token, so they were already running everything that they needed to in order to trade LTB coin too. All they had to do was essentially just specify LTB coin as the asset that they wanted, and it literally took less than 24 hours after they contacted us. I was amazed.
Nice.
That's very cool.
So the wallet, once you've got your password, then you essentially just put it in where it asks you for your password, and it'll open up a new wallet. It'll ask you to agree that this is beta software. And it's very important that everybody remember that this is beta software and that you shouldn't really be using it with real amounts of money because, again, it's beta software that could fail. I got into it like literally the first couple of days that Counterparty was available for testing because, again, I've been trying to figure out what the best tool was in order to do this. And since that happened, I've had to move every single asset that I acquired, which is probably about 200 for a whole variety of projects. I've had to move them 3 or 4 times, so it's actually cost me a fairly large amount. So I really encourage people to treat this as test software because that's what it is. And LTBCoin really is also an experiment in much the same way. Once you're in the wallet, then you'll see that you actually have 3 addresses right there. You can rename the addresses by clicking on the name. It'll say my address number 1. You can just click on that and change it to whatever you want. The address is on that same bar. You just click it and it'll copy it to your thing. Then you go back to your Let's Talk Bitcoin account and go to your profile page in your account. And there's a little field there that says LTBCoin compatible address. You put it there, click save, and you're done.
Well, so Adam, let me jump forward to another question here and ask you to talk a little bit more about the life cycle of, well, not really the life cycle, but the flow, the circulation of LTB coin within the network, within the system. You've got audience members I know are going to be able to acquire it by participating through listening, is that right, and commenting, as well as creators. Can you talk a little bit about how LTB coin flows between all those places? Yeah,
right now it's actually a very simple ecosystem, and we've, like I said, intentionally kept it that way. LTB coin goes out through all those variety of mechanisms we've spent the last amount of time talking about, and then the one place that it can right now go where we guarantee we will honor it is in these sponsor auctions. So it doesn't really matter how anybody acquires it, but if they acquire LTBCoin and they're not already a part of our community, then de facto they acquired it from somebody who was. That's kind of the life cycle right now. Mostly people are saving them. Mostly people are getting some in and speculating on them. But what we're doing with them is we are using them as a way to get the help that we need in order to push this project forward faster at a faster rate than we would have been able to lacking it. So the simplified life cycle is they're given out through this rewards program, and then they float around until we accept them back in through these auctions.
Nice. Sounds like it's working to me.
Okay, and so here's another question for you. There's this concept of acquire, spend, replenish as a way to sustain an ecosystem of cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, for example. How would somebody go about participating in LTBCoin in that same way?
Well, one of the ways that we haven't turned on for the audience yet is tipping. And this is something that I think is going to be a big deal. But there are also a couple of other systems that I'm not going to get into on this, but we really have big plans for where we think we can have this token add value. You know, right down to giving monetization control to individual authors even. So if you as an author release pieces periodically and you would like to sell a sponsorship on your article, there will be a slot eventually in the article that will let you do that. And so again, that's what we see emerging here is right now, I am the only participant honoring this because I'm the one that truly believes in it and I'm trying to help get it started. And I don't really care about making money with it. I just want it to work. But eventually, if I'm successful in this and if people believe in us and help us succeed, then it'll be everybody in our system who wants to do this because it's in their best interest.
Yeah. How about tipping? How about tipping content providers?
Yeah, so tipping content providers is another way that we're actually going to, if you tip, there's going to be an allocation for people who tip, basically, and it'll be relative to the amount of value that you tip. And so right now, we're not set up for tipping at all because we're building this new system. But what's going to wind up happening is that whether the details we're still working out, but you will simply be able to set a default tip and then click a button and then lodge that tip. It might not process until the end of the week. We're thinking about doing this thing where like you attach your account. Basically, we can look and see how many LTB coins you have in your account. Right. And so we can see that you're not committing something you don't already have. But it makes it much, much easier if instead of every time you want to send a tip to somebody, you go and you click the button and then you copy the address, go back to your wallet, send the thing, wait a couple of minutes. Again, like it's a couple of step process. But if we do it this way, then we can make it so that people can just tip whenever they want. It's super easy. They don't have to have their wallets out. And then at the end of the week or whatever, they just get essentially their bill and they send one address. Just like I send out LTB coin to all the people the same way, you can use our system in the same way to send it out to all the people you want to tip.
I like it, man.
And it's cheaper.
Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding. Are you talking about tipping and getting compensation all in LTB coin? I mean, is somebody tipping for something that they like with LTB coin and then because you tipped, you're receiving LTB coin later?
Yeah, it's sort of funny. But what it means, you have to think about it like this. The amount that we're giving out through this process is static, right? It's set in the rules, and the rules are the thing that we have to follow. Because as you said, since we're not actually technically bound by them, if we were to do something outside the rules, it would destroy our credibility, Right. So that's why we're being very careful with this. To try and make it very clear the things that we think we know and the things we're certain that we don't know.
You talk about an audience member tipping with LTB coin, and then through tipping, they've demonstrated participation as an audience member, and by participating as an audience member, you might receive some LTB coin later on or something. I think that's what I was just trying to understand that.
Right. And again, the later on is actually just at the end of the week. Again, it's every week we look at participation. So if you've tipped on a week when not that many people tipped, you actually might make a profit from your tip, just like with the auction, right? What we want to do is we want to encourage people to do it. And the people who are doing it when nobody else is doing it are the most valuable people to us. So we want to reward them. And again, the other thing is that we have this kind of problem with LTB coin, or really any user-created asset. If you create it and then you just give it to yourself and then you just use it, then that's actually kind of illegitimate, in my opinion. I think you sort of have to give it to somebody else first and then do something compelling enough that they want to give it back to you. So that's kind of how I view this, is that rather than, we could do this directly. We could just say, okay, well, everybody that creates a piece of content gets this much in terms of a tip, and that's it. But that wouldn't be a very good qualitative thing. It wouldn't tell us what the audience thinks is good, and that's the important part.
Yeah, people want to tip what they want to tip, and they want to tip in Bitcoin or Litecoin or Doge, right?
Well, and again, they want to tip in lots of different things. And to start, we're going to accept Bitcoin and LTBCoin because we can use the same address for all of that.
Oh,
but
right.
I'm not ruling out anything. I think that there's going to be a day at some point in the future where the type of cryptocurrency doesn't matter, and all that's important is the value that it represents.
That's right, people. Listeners out there, if you want to send us boxes of fruit and pineapples and other exotic things from around the world, we're accepting that.
Yeah, I'll accept gold and silver. You can send a nice fruit basket to Lidge or whatever.
Adam, well, this is some pretty exciting stuff. What do you see as next for LTBCoin?
Well, we're actually, this is a little bit of an exclusive here. So my company that owns Let's Talk Bitcoin spent money last year on making all of this happen, and we wound up a bit under what we had brought in terms of sponsor things. So just like everybody else was rewarded for the content they created, we rewarded the platform with, again, 10% of the initial LTBCoin created. So we've been kind of trying to figure out how we want to use that, and what we're going to do with it, it looks like, or at least a portion of it, is offer it as a further rewards program for people who buy packaging from one of our other businesses, bitcoinpackaging.com. So we already offer a 10% discount, and this is more like for food service packaging. So like if you run a cafe or a coffee shop or something like that, and you accept Bitcoin, we provide a service where you can buy your packaging needs, like your cups and things, from us in Bitcoin. We'll give you a 10% discount, and now we're also going to give you a rebate of LTBCoin too. So if you'd like to use it to advertise on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network, you'll be able to do that.
Nice. So can you tell our listeners how they can best get involved? People who, maybe don't feel like they have anything to offer. Maybe they're not a writer. Maybe they don't have a podcast. What can your average listener do? I guess it would be listen to the podcasts, read the content, and tip a little bit, or just post on the forums.
What can they do to help?
The most important thing you can do is create an account. Create an account, jump through that little hoop of getting your counter wallet account set up, put the address in right, and then just use the site as much as you want. One of the great things about this is that, like 2 weeks ago before we started this project, we were publishing maybe 2 or 3 articles a week in addition to the shows that we were doing. And now, I'm going to have to bring on an editor who's not me because we have so much stuff going through that I'm falling behind. And the quality is going up too. It's fantastic how well this is working to incentivize people to do stuff like this. There are a couple other ways, though. So we're actually right now looking for, I'm not sure when this is going to air, it might be filled by then, but we're looking for 2 social media managers to manage the Let's Talk Bitcoin Twitter account. It pays 25,000 LTBCoin per week, and also the @LTBCoin Twitter account too. And then we're also looking for an auction manager, someone who can actually manage these forum threads so that, again, I don't have to be the guy who sits there and updates the main page and stuff like that. And that actually pays a 10% commission in whatever LTBCoin are brought in through that for all of the auctions that you run.
Okay, I'd like to audition right now. Five, anybody, five, give me 5, anybody, 5. How's that, man?
Sold to the man in the funny hat.
Well, if we start doing live auctions, I'm very into it, John.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. Cool. Let's do it. Let's do this thing.
Well, so that's very cool. So now what about for somebody who might be sort of outside of that LTB forum already, and they might want to hire somebody in their own local area for LTBCoin? How should they guide somebody who's interested in getting involved? How should they guide them to a better understanding of LTBCoin so they might be ready to accept it as payment?
These people need guidance.
I actually don't really know. Right now we're really just looking for true believers who can listen to me talk about this in my particular way and understand what it is that we're trying to do.
Oh, I was going to offer a suggestion. Can't we just guide them to the LTB forum so they can begin to read and understand and learn about it, and they might get excited about it and want to join?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're welcome. Again, there are all these systems that we're currently building. We're going to have like a referral system in place. What we don't want to do is we don't want to create systems that encourage people to just create junk. So we don't want to create something where it's like, okay, every time you create a Facebook post about Let's Talk Bitcoin, you get this something or other, because that just encourages everybody to create Facebook posts. And I don't think that's terribly useful, to be honest with you.
No.
We're doing enough of that
what
already.
we're doing is if you refer someone, like if you tell your friends to, that, hey, you can go earn LTBCoin over here if you participate in this community. When somebody new joins the community, especially if you help them to join the community, they have a referrer field, which is to say the person that helped them to find Let's Talk Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. When they put in a name there, they actually get a little bit more than if they don't have a name there. So there is an incentive to put a name there, and it can't be them, obviously. So basically, with the forums, there are 2 pools. One pool is for being an active member. Active members are defined as somebody who has at least 5 posts or interactions in some way. That could be visiting pages or something like that. But it means that that week you actually visited and participated in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We then have another category that is essentially influencers. And when somebody new joins the site, they are incentivized to put in their influencer who helped them to find the place. They get a little reward for that in terms of they earn more LTB coin per week that they are active. And the person that was their influencer, the person that referred them, actually, for each person that they referred that is active during a given week, it gives them one more point. And this is cumulative forever.
Nice.
So what it means is that if you're someone that is just spamming people and you don't actually have any impact, then this system doesn't help you at all. But if you are actually bringing people to us and those people are actually participating in what we're doing, then you get a larger portion of this pool that's the same size as the portion that everybody else is sharing equally, except you get it for however many you have, again, compared against all of the other influencers.
I love it,
So you
man.
can't control the fact that the audience is going to grow and that first pool is going to shrink, but you can keep up or exceed the average person and therefore continually grow your portion of that influencer pie.
That's all I've ever been trying to do is just keep up with or exceed the average person. That's my goal,
right?
Be excellent to one another.
No, that is really great stuff, Adam. Man, I really appreciate you taking so much time to talk to us about this, and I would love to have you on the show. And we would love to have you on the show again, I don't know, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months to talk more about LTB and to find out about the progress of the LTB coin.
Absolutely, guys. That'd be great. And next time I'll talk to you about where I think we're going with careers, because it's fun.
Oh, careers. Ooh. Do we have one of those, John? Do we have one of those?
No comment.
Not
man.
after we started this. No, I'm just kidding. So,
yes, of course we have a career. We're podcast hosts, Lidge.
Oh, I thought it was careening. I thought he said we were careening. No, I'm kidding. Adam, thank you so much for joining us on the show, man. It's really fantastic to have you here. Listening to you talk about this stuff, you get such a wonderful focus on the topic and you really dig down deep. And I think that everybody on the LTB network who's listening really appreciates hearing you talk about this stuff.
I appreciate you starting the Let's Talk Bitcoin network, because without this, I mean, honestly, I think I can speak for our listeners when I say that this has been one of the most valuable sources of information about Bitcoin and digital currency and what's going on politically that I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Yeah, me too. This is how I learned about Bitcoin.
Yeah, this was our beginning, and we continue to listen to the other podcasts and to read the content. We don't just put the show out, but we're active listeners and we're actively involved. And whether LTB coin existed or not, and we were earning it, we would continue to do what we're doing because we love it.
Well, I really appreciate your contribution, guys, too. Again, it's not an easy thing getting out and doing this stuff and doing it for as little compensation as we all have. So, it's somewhere between a honor, responsibility, duty thing in order to, to do and to have the opportunity to do something like this at a time that appears to be so damn important when it comes to, the issues in the world around us. Yeah. So, yeah, I again, it's wonderful to have shows like Bitcoins and Gravy on what we're doing, on the network, and to further build out that audience and further expand the perspective. So yeah, good work, guys. Very much thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks you, Adam. And thanks to everybody else there at the network. Great to have you here, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it easy.
You too. Bye. The magic word is such a word as indeed has never been heard. And now, today, the magic word. The magic word for today is motivate.
Don't forget the magic word. Go to letstalkbitcoin.com and enter it there under your account to get yourself some LTB coin. We want to thank Adam B. Levine from Let's Talk Bitcoin for joining us on Bitcoins and Gravy today and giving us more insight into LTB coin. To find out more about our guests and sponsors, visit our show notes at bitcoinsandgravy.com/episode 25. Thank you so much for listening to our show. We greatly appreciate your time and attention. If you like the show, please remember to go to iTunes and leave us a review. Also, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to hear from Bitcoins and Gravy each week.
And remember the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline. Have you ever wanted to be a podcaster? Then call us at 615-208-5198 and leave us a message with your comments, questions, or complaints. This is your opportunity to tell us what you think. If you give us permission, we will put you on the show. So call the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline at 615-208-5198. That's right, that's the Bitcoins and Gravy hotline. And of course, we offer a number of ways for you to download all of our past podcasts. You can go to letstalkbitcoin.com or directly from iTunes, or you can go to our website, bitcoinsandgravy.com. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment and leave a review or comment on iTunes or SoundCloud. Let us know what you like or where we can improve.
And remember, it's your reviews and comments that help new listeners discover Bitcoins and Gravy, plus all the other great shows on the Let's Talk Bitcoin Podcast Network. And we thank you for your generous tips and donations.
I'm John Barrett.
And I'm Lyd Shaw, and you've been listening to
Bitcoins and Gravy from East Nashville, Tennessee.